Hello, Nebraska, and welcome to this week's edition of the Retirement Compass, the show dedicated to helping you successfully navigate to and through your retirement. I'm your host, Kristen Oakley, and I'm joined by two members of Stonebridge Wealth Systems based right here in Nebraska. We have Tim Kulhanek, he is a co-founder and financial advisor, and Jeremy Gove, partner and financial advisor. Tim and Jeremy, it's great to be back with you. What is going on in your world this week?
Staying busy. Lincoln office is rocking and rolling. Eli and I are staying really busy meeting with folks not only from the television program, the radio show, getting lots of questions about things like long-term care and taxes, especially this time of year. So we're having a good time staying busy.
Good. And Jeremy, I know you're staying busy as well.
Yeah, we've been really busy. Scott and Jeff and Kearney and John in Grand Island. And I've been kind of running back and forth between all three offices. And so been very busy. It's been a lot of fun to meet with people from the like Tim said, the radio show, the TV show, and it's fun to meet with new people.
Well, great.
Enjoy it.
Good. Well, I know that's really been the inspiration for this really fun show you've put together today. Today's show is called Launching into Retirement. And we're going to go along with this whole launching theme. If you think about how much goes into getting a rocket launched into space and having it be a successful launch, we want your retirement to be successful. And there's so many steps that go into making sure that you are on track to reach your goals in retirement. So that's what we're going to be doing today, is looking at the parallels between a rocket launch and what folks need to know for their own launch, if you will, into retirement. So first, let's talk about the countdown phase. You know, I don't know, have you ever gone to watch a rocket launch in person?
I haven't, but I've seen it on TV. It's pretty amazing.
Yes, it is really amazing. And I have a fond memory when I was 4 years old, we drove to Florida and we were waiting with anticipation, and they got down to second 6 and then they called off the launch, which was such a disappointment, right? Yeah. We don't want that to happen to your retirement. So let's talk about this countdown phase and what are some parallels that we could draw when it comes to retiring well.
Yeah, I really like this parallel because there's so many phases of a rocket launch, just like there's so many phases of retirement.
Right.
You know, you go through this accumulation phase and then you retire and then you go through a bunch of different changes as well.
And a lot of people aren't aware of that. I think so many people think, oh, I've saved, now I have this lump sum, what do I do with it? But to your point, there are different phases. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, let's get into that.
You know, so when you're thinking about launching the rocket, what do you start with? You start with the launch pad. And obviously that's got to be a strong foundation. And then you think about the design of the rocket. You know, did we reduce the drag? For example, you know, one of the ways that you can experience drag in your retirement is having debt. You know, is your house paid off? Do we have credit card debt? Variable interest rates can really kill, you know, financial plans. And so we want to reduce the drag from that perspective. We want to design the rocket so that it can go into orbit in the most efficient manner possible.
Right.
So we spent a lot of time on that, you know, talking about an emergency fund, debt, those types of things that could be drags. Taxes is another big thing that people often overlook is, you know, I've saved all this money in my 401k, I'm ready to retire, I need to draw out so much money a month, but they need to draw out, let's say you're drawing out $5,000 a month, we need to draw more than $5,000 a month because of taxes.
Right, because that's all been in tax-deferred accounts,
yes.
And the majority of Americans have the bulk of their wealth saved up in those types of accounts.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. Well, obviously, not only is there a huge checklist for the countdown phase, but what is needed to get the rocket off the ground? It's fuel, right? That's what is going to propel that rocket into outer space. And so, Tim, in the rocket world, obviously, following this analogy, what is the fuel for someone's retirement?
Yeah, I think to Jeremy's point, we've got to focus on what, like even here on Earth, like what keeps us from just floating away? It's the fact that there's gravity on Earth, right? And the things that are like the gravity of your retirement plan is why we have to create some sort of fuel. And the fuel really is the plan, right? So if you think about mission control, you know, the launch itself, like that's what we see. That's what we go to Cape Canaveral to see, and that's like the exciting part. But it's all the planning that takes place up front. So during your accumulation phase, your working career, are you putting money into the right types of accounts? Are you putting the right amount away? So like for our viewers, like do you know how much you should be saving in order to have a successful retirement, to be able to do the things you want to do? Because retirement to us at Stonebridge, it shouldn't be like, at least I don't have to go to work anymore. Like that's not the goal, that's not the bar. It's, hey, I'm not going to work, and by the way, I'm gonna be on the beach, or I'm gonna be, you know, in the mountains, or I'm gonna be hiking.
It's kind of like, what are you moving towards? Not just what are you stopping, but what are you retiring to go do, right?
Yep.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So So we look at making sure that you have, if we get a little bit more into the details, making sure that you're putting the right amount away in the right type of account. A lot of people just say, oh, I've got a 401k, so we'll put money in there, but maybe I shouldn't be maxing out my 401k. I should be getting the full match in my 401k. Maybe I should be putting some amount into a Roth IRA or even the Roth 401k.
Right.
Maybe I should have some after-tax money because I know when I retire, I'm gonna have to buy a new car. And I don't wanna have to pull that out of my IRA and pay taxes on it. Maybe I should think about the types of investments I have inside of my IRA. There's no reason for me to have, for example, like a tax-free municipal bond inside of an IRA, because it pays a lower interest rate. The value comes from a tax-free municipal bond. It comes from the fact that you don't pay income taxes so if it's a municipal bond, you don't pay federal income tax on it.
Right.
But if it's in an IRA, you're going to pay it regardless. So there's no additional benefit to that. And we see these things. I mean, it probably to our listeners, it probably sounds silly. We see this stuff all the time. The wrong types of investments and the wrong type of accounts, and that stuff holds you back. And so all that fuel you've been trying to build up, it's making that gravity pull you back down.
Right. Or you might get up, but not as far as you want to go, and that's a problem too, right?
For sure. Yep.
Well, and I know so much goes into this. I think it's important. We talk about this on the show all the time. How you make a decision in one area of your financial life can and will affect all the others. That's why there's so many steps to this checklist and so much that needs to be done to make sure that you have the right fuel in the right places, so to speak. I know another analogy for this is mission control. You mentioned that. There is a team of people ensuring that rocket gets off the ground. I think of that movie Hidden Figures. Did you all watch
Sure,
that movie?
for sure.
And
So
my favorite scene is when John Glenn literally says, no, I want her calculation, right? I want her, her mathematics. And there was that whole team of people working to make sure that it was going to be on the right orbit path. So similarly, who makes up the mission control team for your clients in helping them successfully launch into retirement?
Yeah, so obviously, a lot of people have a CPA that does their taxes. Most likely they have an attorney that's done some sort of estate planning. Hopefully they at least have a will and a power of attorney in place. And then obviously the financial advisor is kind of the head of mission control. That's the role that we take because we work with the CPA and we work with the attorneys and work with the other people that are part of that whole retirement plan.
Right. And you're making sure it's a cohesive strategy that's fitting together.
Yes, exactly. And that's the critical piece because there's a lot of times where a CPA is not talking to an attorney and so they're doing something that's different and then it ends up causing some tax issues down the road.
Right.
Because most CPAs, and this is nothing against the CPA, most CPAs are always looking backwards.
Well,
right?
they're trained to do the tax preparation, which we need.
Yep.
But you guys focus on what?
We're focusing on the future. We're focusing on the launch. And
Right.
to continue that analogy, you look at what is the process of a launch. Well, okay, so the rocket is taking off. It has to reach 17,500 miles per hour to get into orbit.
Wow.
The way that they do that is through stages. So you reduce weight, we're reducing drag. We talked a little bit about taxes. We talked a little bit about getting rid of debt. Those are all important, critical things. But as you go through different stages, when you turn 65, you got to sign up for Medicare. At what point do you sign up for Social Security? We don't know until you do a plan because you can sign up at 62. I've got a couple of clients that signed up at 62. Their income was $300,000 a year. They did not need Social Security. But their CPA told them, go ahead and sign up because we don't know how long it's going to last. And so we can make a lot of decisions that are bad decisions, but with a proper plan, we can also minimize those types of decisions. So as we're going through the different stages of the launch, kind of using that terminology, we're going to be doing different things. We're going to be signing up for Medicare. We're going to be signing up for Social Security. We're going to start drawing income from different types of accounts in the most tax efficient manner.
Right.
And so those are all important pieces of that staging process.
Right. Well, it just speaks to the fact that there's so much that you need to know of what to do, when, how much to withdraw, from where. I mean, so much. Just like a rocket ship needs all these things to be able to successfully launch, you have to have all these pieces in place. I know we have so much more to get into and so many more fun analogies on today's show, but one of the things that you offer each and every week that we run the show is the opportunity for folks to come in and meet with you. So talk a little bit about what they're going to get when they call the number today.
Sure. Yeah, I think the main thing as it pertains to a rocket launch is a stress test, okay? Because that rocket is going to be stress tested to make sure there's no fuel leaks, right? So when it blasts off, it keeps going up and it keeps the people inside there safe, right? With your retirement, we want to keep that safe. We want to keep it protected. We want to make sure that there's no leaks, so to speak, like too much in one account or too much in tax deferred, not enough in tax free. We want to have an even weight between the balance and the different types of accounts. So that makes sure that you don't have too much in growth, too much in value, too much in small cap, too much in bonds. All that needs to be balanced out. We can stress test your plan and you'll find out and make sure that you're ready for that launch.
Wonderful. Tim, Jeremy, thank you so much. To our viewers at home, that number to call to get your very own complimentary written financial plan from Tim and Jeremy and the team at Stonebridge Wealth Systems is there on the bottom of your screen. Simply dial 866-256-7778. You're also welcome to take out your smartphone. You can open up that camera app, just point, click, and scan at that QR code down in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. That will take you over to a landing page, ask you a few short, simple questions, and then a member of the team will reach out and connect with you to schedule your complimentary visit that way as well. More on today's episode right after this.
I own a motel I was able to buy out of college. When I actually ended up buying the motel, I was leaving. I had just passed the life and health license and I was going to sell Medicare supplements and long-term care. I told the owner of the motel that, hey, I'm going to be leaving. I was giving him a 6 months heads up that, hey, I'll train whoever you want to bring in. He said, I'd actually rather sell you the motel than bring in a new manager because he never showed up. So he didn't have to do anything. It was kind of like an ATM for him. And so, you know, when you own your own business, there's a lot of people that got to be paid. There's marketing that has to be done. There's a lot of different dynamics that go into running a motel. It actually taught me to think outside the box a little bit. And so I started looking around, what are other things I can do? Because I really liked helping people. I liked solving problems for them. And there's a big difference between selling something and actually finding solutions to problems. When you're thinking about personal finance and managing somebody's retirement for them, they've worked for 40 years saving all this money and now they're retiring. They're turning this over to you to take and run with it. So it's a big deal. I think we can always do stuff better. There's always room for improvement. And so I want to read as much as I can. I want to study as much as I can so that I can do a better job for my clients, which they're counting on me to get the job done for them.
Welcome back, Nebraska. You're watching The Retirement Compass. I'm your host, Kristen Oakley, here with Tim Kulhanek and Jeremy Gove, who are financial advisors with Stonebridge Wealth Systems based right here in Nebraska. We are having a really fun show today talking about the importance of having a solid plan in place, using a rocket analogy. Obviously, so much goes into making sure a rocket can successfully launch and get where it needs to go and return home safely, right? This is so many parallels that fit in with retirement. You mentioned before the break, Tim, that one of the things that you provide when folks come in and meet with you to get a complimentary written financial plan is you stress test their current plan or lack of a plan, if you will. I would love for you to share a little bit more in detail. I know that you all work with some independent third parties to receive some really solid reports that you're able to hand to people to kind of show how you're stress testing the plan.
Sure.
Talk a little bit more in depth about what folks are actually going to be able to see and understand as a result of going through this complimentary written financial plan with you all.
Yeah, so we'll be able to uncover, for one of the things we talked about that holds people back is, what are you paying in fees? A lot of people have no idea. They've just gone through life picking up, financial products off the shelf, like you're going through the grocery store and randomly picking different items. This is how my mom raised me, and I know most of our audience is probably the same. Like, you look at labels, you figure out, okay, what's the cost per unit? I want to make sure I'm getting a good deal, but for some reason with our finances, we typically don't do that.
Well, there's so many hidden fees. I think that's
for sure.
The key too,
it makes
right?
it tough to know.
The fees are in every prospectus that most people never read unless they really suffer with insomnia, right?
Right, yes.
No one wants to sit through pages of that small fine print, right?
So that's part of it, but really the important part, like, to me, I kind of do is what is, does, means type of analysis. So what is the stress test? It's an opportunity for folks to come in and for us to look at all the different angles. We look at 1,000 different scenarios of how their next 30 plus years of their life could turn out from a financial perspective, okay? So we're looking at it from good times and bad. We're looking at, what if Social Security in 2032, trust fund says, hey, we're out of money, we can only pay 80 cents on the dollar. I'm not saying that's gonna happen, but that's what the trust fund analysis says right now. So, okay, trustee report, we'll go with that. What if inflation's higher than we thought it was gonna be? What if taxes go up?
Right.
What if something happens and you have a healthcare event sooner than you thought you would. Maybe you don't have quite the longevity. You have more longevity. So there's all these different scenarios. That's what it is. That's what it does, is test those different scenarios. But at the end of the day, Kristen, what it means is our clients can stop worrying. They can stop doing the what ifs in their head, because we've done it on paper. We've given them access to it online. So anytime they are up at night, unable to sleep because they're worried about whatever it might be, am I going to have enough? Am I going to run out of money?
Yep.
They can, if they really want to, they can log in and they can see, okay, here's the plan that Tim and Jeremy and the team put together for me. I've got a 95% probability of success. I feel better now. Now I can go get some much needed rest and know that I've got Mission Control who, behind the scenes, they're constantly updating this plan and stress testing it to make sure that as my life and my needs change, my plan adjusts for that.
Well, and to your point, then it's this constant monitoring. I mean, that's, I think, you think of how many people are in the control room with a rocket launch, constantly monitoring all these variables, all, the what if scenarios. So talk about the analogy then of how you are monitoring your clients' portfolios day in and day out.
Yeah, so the nice thing is the technology has come a long ways in the financial services world. So we've got software that we can use to do the analysis that we used to have to do with a pen and paper. And so it does make our life a lot easier. But when you think about mission control, what happens? They don't just launch the rocket and they all go home. I mean, we've all seen Apollo 13, right? What happened? Houston, we have a problem. And everybody gets to work to solve the problem. All hands on deck. And they don't go home. They're working through the night.
Right.
And that's really what it means to have a financial advisor or a financial planner that's working for you and constantly analyzing the plan. We can say, Houston, we have a problem. Here's the solution that we've already predetermined. This is a route we could go if this did happen. It may or may not happen. Like Social Security, we don't know what's going to happen with Social Security.
Right.
But if Social Security was reduced, what would we expect to have happen? It's probably 80 cents on the dollar. Or if you're 30 years old, you're probably not going to get Social Security when you turn 67. It might be 70, or we don't know. And so we can build a plan and adjust for that and walk into it so that those little tweaks, and we can adjust the dials and do different things to make it work, even though this crisis came up.
Right.
And we always want to make decisions before. I mean, with Mission Control, they're looking at what if this happens? What if what if we get an oxygen leak? What are we going to do about that?
Right.
They do all of that analysis before they launch the rocket.
Right.
We do the same thing before we start a financial plan. I mean, before we actually initiate it and move forward. So that's all predetermined, and then we walk through the plan and we just execute it.
Yeah.
We take each step as, the different, I'll call it a mile marker, as we keep hitting that new mile marker. Now we got to do this. Now we got to sign up for Social Security. Now we got to sign up for Medicare. Now we got to start doing QCDs. We've talked about that on a few shows, or RMDs, to use all the acronyms.
Yep.
So that's what is required, and that's what we do. So,
and it's a two-way street of constantly adjusting, because life happens. And I think there's so much freedom in knowing that you have someone in your corner, so that when life does hit the fan, you're able to call your financial advisor and say, hey, this is a new update to our lives, our situation. Tell us how we need to adjust our plan accordingly.
it can be frustrating if you think about it. Do we ever make decisions, rash decisions, when we're under stress? Do we make good decisions at that point? Not usually.
Right.
And so if my wife all of a sudden develops some health issue, that I've got to focus all my attention on that.
Right.
Now I can't focus my attention on managing my plan or doing anything else. I'm trying to take care of her. So I'm probably not going to be making the best financial decisions. I'm going to be leaving stuff out.
Yeah.
And if we have somebody that's there, mission control, taking care of all that other stuff, and they can say, okay, Jeremy, by the way, we already kind of planned for something like that. Here's what we talked about doing. Does this still make sense to do that?
Right.
Or maybe we adjust the dials a little bit and we do something slightly different.
Yep.
And that's what we offer our clients at Stonebridge.
Well, I want to hear a little bit more. I know obviously you are the faces that our viewers get to see here on the television show, but talk briefly more about the mission control team that makes up Stonebridge Wealth Systems, where you are located, who they can expect to meet with at your various locations.
Sure, I think the important thing to know is that we cover the entire state. You know, we're not talking about, you know, we've got clients across the country, but for most of our viewers here locally, I mean, we're in our communities, you know, and so we've got offices in Lincoln, Grand Island, Kearney. That's where we started the company, and just recently opened an Omaha office. So the reality is, you know, wherever you are, if you're in the state of Nebraska, Iowa, Kansas, we can get to you. We'll come to you if necessary. And we do have a big team. Jeremy had mentioned in a previous segment that, you know, it's just not Tim and Jeremy. It's Tim and Eli and Lincoln. Then there's John and Grand Island and Scott and Jeff and others. Even home and auto insurance is offered through our firm, believe it or not. So we really do cover the whole spectrum, a full service financial firm. But the last thing I'll tell you is this. So in Apollo 13, I think it's Tom Hanks' character, his mom, when things hit the fan, as you put it, right? His mom, when his son is worried, his mom says something to the effect that, you know, if they could make a washing machine fly, my son, he could land that thing on the moon, right? That's how good he is, because he's an expert at this. Yeah. I know nothing about rockets or space. I'm not Elon Musk. I don't know how they make them fly. Right. But what Jeremy and I know, and our team know, is creating financial plans. Creating them and implementing them and monitoring them so our clients can be successful. That's what we'd like to do for the folks at home as well.
Well, wonderful. Tim, Jeremy, thank you so much. To our viewers at home, if you would like to give yourself the gift of peace of mind that can come from knowing that you have a solid plan in place to reach your financial goals, we encourage you to pick up the phone and call this number on the bottom of your screen, 866-256-7778. Again, this is your invitation to be able to come in and meet with the team of Stonebridge Wealth Systems to receive your very own complimentary written financial plan. Again, you're also welcome to scan that QR code, and that will get you connected as well. More with the Retirement Compass right after this.
My story started when I was in college. I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I knew it was going to be in the financial industry. I took a lot of accounting and finance classes. I thought I'd probably work in like a bigger company and work my way through maybe the accounting department. But then when I was doing a internship the summer before my senior year, I walked into a business. I was trying to sell magazine ads. I don't know if I call it magazine ads, but basically ad space in the back of the UNK student handbook and planner, which was a difficult sell because, you know, nobody uses pen and paper planners anymore, at least not college students. But I made my best pitch to some financial advisors. I happened to be Scott Noctegal that I met with that day. When I went for the close and tried to see if he was ready to sign up for some ad space, he said, yeah, no, I'm not interested in that, but it takes a lot of courage to have somebody to be willing to walk into a business, especially a business that really doesn't cater to your target audience, to put yourself out there in a way that the odds of you being successful are probably pretty low. That's the type of person we'd be looking for at our firm. Have you decided what you want to do? And I said, no, I really haven't, but I know I want to work with finance because I like numbers, and math's always been my favorite subject, and working with kind of complex equations, almost like a puzzle. And so that's really where it all began.
Welcome back to the Retirement Compass, brought to you by the team of Stonebridge Wealth Systems. I'm your host, Kristen Oakley, here with Tim Kulhanek and Jeremy Gove. And in the last segment, we ended with really stressing the importance of having a solid financial plan in place, what you're able to really do for your clients. And one of the things that I really appreciate about you guys, I've gotten to interact with so many different financial advisors across the country, but you really have a heart to help people retire to something. And just like, you know, astronauts love to explore up in space, if we're continuing with this rocket launch theme, you want your clients to have a life in retirement. Talk about what really sets you apart as it relates to developing a plan that allows people to dream again and have things to look forward to once they're retired.
Yeah, that's a great point, Kristen. And it's one of those things that when you think about your retirement, you've been working for 40 plus years, 30 plus years, whatever it is, and now there's a big shift, there's a big change. What does that look like for you? It looks different for every person. So my retirement's gonna look different than yours, Kristen, and will look different than Tim's. And so what is it that you want to accomplish? What is it that you want to do? Maybe it's start a new business, maybe it's start a new career, maybe it's I'm tired of working in this industry, maybe I'll like this other industry, but I want to know I don't have to work in that industry. It's my choice. And that gives you a lot of freedom. And even if you're getting close to retirement, we spend a lot of time talking to people okay, so what are your options? You can continue to work till you're 67, let's say, but you could retire at 64 if you wanted to.
Right.
If you decide, I don't want to get up in the morning, I don't want to go to work tomorrow, I can tell my boss, I'm done, and so it can be a positive thing. What we talk a lot about is choice and control. When we think about retirement, there's a lot of things decisions that you can make now that will affect you in your retirement years. But the biggest thing is just dreaming and what is it that I want to do.
And it's finding fulfillment beyond finances. I love that you say that. That's so important.
Yeah, in the 2013 book, I was just thinking about this, 2013 book called Happy Money. It's by Elizabeth Norton and Michael Dunn, or it could be Elizabeth Dunn, Michael Norton. But in any case, they're two Harvard professors. They did a meta-analysis, okay? Which basically just means they looked at other studies, a lot of other studies, and created their own based off of the findings of all these other studies.
Right.
They're trying to distill down into 5 areas that people get the most enjoyment out of interacting with their money, okay? So here's the 5 areas. Number 1 was buy an experience. Spend your money. Don't spend time, your 40 years working career, only to just let that money sit and say, oh, I hope I don't run out of money. Hey, if you have a plan and it's been tested, it's been stress tested by Jeremy, myself, or somebody on our team, no, we give you the absolute right to go out and spend that money. Buy experiences, spend time with your family. Number 2 is novelty. So in other words, buy novel experiences. Maybe you shake things up. Instead of going to Panera or Starbucks, go to like a local shop or go on a trip and go find like a mom and pop and just try something different. 3, buying time. Be willing to pay somebody to come mow your yard so you can spend time with your grandkids. 4, pay now, consume later. People get more enjoyment out of anticipation. So be willing to pay for something up front, even though it might not be like a trip that might not happen for a year or 2.
Right.
Finally, invest in others. Kids, grandkids. Being willing to gift money. Use estate tax exemptions to try to get some of that money to your family where they can use it now. Investing in 529 plans and the like. The bottom line is we want to have them retire to something that they can look forward to, and knowing that they have the authority to go and spend that money so they can enjoy their life.
I'm so grateful that you shared that with our viewers today, and I think too you help people walk through that shift. It can be hard when you spent your whole life saving to go, no, I can spend now, but with that solid plan in place, that gives permission for them to do that.
Absolutely.
So, awesome. Tim, Jeremy, it's always a joy to be with you, and to our viewers at home, we appreciate you joining us. Again, that number to call to get your own complimentary written financial plan, 866-256-7778. We love you, Nebraska. We'll be back with you next week.